Let me bring up the tail of the tape, guys, if you could. Today's participants are Aaron Clary, a.k.a. Captain Capitalism, the only motorcycling, fossil hunting, tornado chasing, book writing, ballroom dancing economist in the world.
Video. Hit the
versus
video button at the bottom and
Jason.
Share your stuff.
And I want to say, I may say his name incorrectly, but he'll straighten me out when he comes on. Jason Unruhe. And he is a proud DPRK. And if you don't know what DPRK is, that
Aaron and Jason, you guys
Democratic People's Republic of Korea. He's a supporter
like a camera.
of.
Up there, I see Jason's doing it. Aaron, can you too?
I can't because I get bandwidth issues. I'd have to go again. So I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine, man. If we can't do it, as long as we can hear you, that's cool. Thanks for joining, gents.
Jason specifically because this is shark-infested water that he's swimming in, and he decided to come and share his perspective from a communist point of view. And I want to thank Mr. Doug Nielsen for the tail of the tape. He's a friend of Compound Media and does great work at Mr. Nielsen on Twitter. And are the guys ready to roll?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Aaron? Jason? Aaron? Jason? Aaron? Which one am I speaking with? Is that's audio or is this the video? Okay.
I could hear you guys fine. I don't know if people can hear me.
There you go. Jason, my man. Jason is in the house. Jason, how do you pronounce your last name?
Unruhe.
Unruhe. Okay, the E at the end kind of threw me off. And next to your name is the sickle?
Hammer and sickle, yes.
Right on. Now, where's Aaron?
I'm here. Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you, but
yeah,
we just have...
I apologize. The only reason I don't do videos, my bandwidth typically cuts out.
Got it.
If you wanted, I could go set up another shop if you're really insisted on video, but it'll take a couple minutes.
No, Aaron, we just wanted the you wanted to have your face so we can get a look at your cues when you speak. You know, you can tell a lot from a person from their eyes when they're speaking. You know, and with Jason here, Jason, I've seen a lot of his YouTube videos, and the guy stares at the camera with this. And with as if he's talking to the world, and he wants everyone to know that we're wrong and he has it right. And so that's what made me really interested in what Jason was bringing to the table. Aaron, I'm familiar with your work. You've authored books such as Worthless, The Bachelor Pad Economics, The Curse of the High IQ, and my favorite, The Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty. So there you go. And so I know your work. Now let me start with you, Jason. What's the difference between a Maoist and a communist? Is there a difference?
It's different stages of theoretical development. Originally, Marx theorized communism, etc., and then later, as times changed, there became Leninism to describe the new era, the era of imperialism. And then afterward, Mao came along and theorized it further for the changing conditions. To be more specific, I'm actually a Maoist third worldist, which would actually be the fourth stage in the development of the ideology.
Maoist third worldist. Now, Aaron, are you familiar with the Maoist third world ideology?
No, I don't study the theories. I just look at empiricism.
Now, capitalism is our way of existing here in America. And Aaron, I know that you, as AKA Captain Capitalism, how do you think capitalism versus socialism, or Jason, is this socialism or is this not socialism? Before I proceed with the question.
Communism is a stage of development. Socialism is the transitory period between capitalism and communism.
Now, as I was saying, Aaron, what is your disdain against socialism?
It's basically theft. That's basically all it is. It's taking one person's labor and giving it to another person.
I've seen you tweet the other day that socialism is basically lazy bastards.
Yeah.
something to that
Not
effect?
always, but predominantly, yes.
Now, let me go back to you, Jason. Do you think socialism would actually work in America?
To be perfectly honest, thank you for letting me know that somebody else was going to be on here, because I thought we were talking about Cuba, because that's what you said.
Yeah, we will get to Cuba.
Oh, we'll get to Cuba. It's not going to be about Cuba.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll get to Cuba. And I just want to clear up some so I know exactly your viewpoint compared to capitalist.
Okay.
For the audience sake.
Essentially, socialism can work, not at this time. This part of the theoretical development is that America is an overprivileged position within the world, the first and third world. Just as you can't expect the capitalist class to support socialism, you can't expect the beneficiaries of an exploited system to support the person who's being exploited. This idea of theft is, frankly, a ridiculous position. The whole premise of capitalism is theft. The owner of the means of production steals the product of the labor of the worker. All we're saying is take the product developed by society, the social value that's created, and distribute it in a way that would create a more harmonious society, to make it more simple.
Aaron, you respond to that?
Well, you're not stealing from the workers; you're paying them wages. Feudalism, certainly, slavery. Yeah, that's
you're taking the product of their labor. So you're saying, so as long as you pay somebody for it, then it's not.
Yeah, you're getting paid.
So
therefore, you can go and buy other people's goods and services. Well, socialism is in taking my money to give it to somebody else.
False.
That's the theft part. It's not.
Nothing to do with taxation.
Well, yeah, I would say it does, because it increases my money.
That's a very common misconception perpetuated by right-wingers. In fact, in socialism, there is no private businessman who runs the company, who taxes the profits. The profits belong to the state.
Are we talking? All right, hold it. Are we talking today? Or are we talking in the theoretical world of a communist state?
We're talking about real world. What you're describing is social democracy.
So right now,
socialism.
Right now, the government takes about 40% of my money, gives 70% of that 40% to basically people who didn't work. That's not theft.
That would be taxation. That's
okay.
I assume you're referring to the United States?
Well, any country with taxation and a social spending program, yeah.
So that would be social democracy.
Okay, but you can call it whatever you want. People voted it in. For example, Sweden, they have very high taxes. People willingly vote that
democracy. You're describing
right, and it's democracy, but that doesn't change the fact that they're stealing my money.
That's two completely different things.
Well, let me ask you, Jason.
I can explain why it's two different things.
Okay,
now
go
with
ahead.
vocabulary terms.
No, it's actually pretty important because it differentiates two different things. Social democracy is basically just capitalism. You have a privately owned business and it's heavily taxed for a welfare state. Socialism, there is no private businessman who runs the business. It's a state enterprise, and the profits are taken and distributed however the government decides it's done. That's two different things.
But that's the two difference. That's why I asked you, are we talking about today's world or in theory?
No,
because if you're talking about today,
in real life, socialism does not act like that.
Okay, gentlemen, let's
social democracy.
Let's move on. Let's move on, Jason. Jason, I want to know is what's happening in Venezuela. Is that socialism? Is that communism? Is that do you have another term for what's going on there? I mean, the 9-hour lines,
it's essentially
food trucks.
Venezuela is a capitalist country. It's socialist. Yes, it is. The bourgeoisie.
Venezuela is a capitalist country?
Yeah, the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, still own the means of production. They have not been appropriated by the state. Some of them have been, but they have not been totally taken over by the state.
I have an article from Salon magazine, one of the premier leftist magazines, said in 2014 that, do we have that headline? That Hugo Chavez was doing great things with his brand of socialism.
Yeah, he can call it a brand of socialism all he wants, but it isn't.
But you said that it was actually capitalism.
It's
that
still capitalism. You can call it social democracy. I say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what Salon called it. They call it socialism, and if there is left. Okay,
Salon is liberal.
We agree.
Liberals don't know what socialism is. The liberals have no place even being called left at all.
Now we won't to go back from Venezuela to Cuba. Now that Fidel Castro has passed on, and he's on record. I'll let you explain what Fidel Castro meant to the world, as opposed to what most of us believe what he meant to the world. And I think you and I differ on this. So, what is your video about Fidel Castro? Do you have Jason's video? We're gonna earmark. I mean, I have an earmark where you talked about Castro in a bit.
El Jefe, Fidel Castro, the leader, Cuban Revolution, 90 years old. As of this recording, the exact cause of his death has not yet been recorded, but it is largely suspected to be a case of cancer, considering that he did previously have colorectal cancer in the past. Fidel Castro has served as a shining example of what can be accomplished in socialism across the third world, even with the ability to stand up to the world's largest tyrant in history, the United States.
Thank you.
Every attempt.
Thank you, Jizzy. Now he stood up. Now you say he stood as a shining example. You want to explain that, Jason?
Yes. Most of Latin America lives under U.S. imperialism, and one of the few countries that have truly been able to get out from under it has been Cuba. They suffer greatly for doing it, but they are out from under it.
Now so you admire Fidel Castro for his ability to stand against America, imperialism, as you call it.
Yes.
Is that so?
I would have that, but I would also have some criticisms of him as well.
Oh, okay. So Fidel Castro, we are correct to know that he was an oppressor. I'm happy he's going, actually. So, and you don't debate that. Do you have any comments about Fidel Castro, Aaron? What is your overview of the guy?
Well, I mean, where could we start? He didn't do his country much good in terms of economic standards of living. They only got about $6,000, $7,000 GDP per capita.
Well, false, because it astronomically increased from when he took over. The U.S.-backed dictator Batista was not good, and even then, you can continually attack economic policy, but you could just completely ignore the.
But hold it. Before you go on a tangent, before you puke all over the microphone, do you have a source that indicates what happened to GDP per capita under Batista versus Castro?
Not on me right now, because
well, then shut up, because I'm dealing with numbers here.
You're just gonna throw insults.
And I have the floor, so I know this is hard for adult talk, but let's try it anyway.
Then why are you throwing insults?
So I'm not impressed with Castro's performance. Empirically, it's very poor. You look at other Caribbean nations, or even though Bermuda technically isn't one, there's a lot of countries, Dominican Republic, Cayman Islands, Bermuda especially, where Cuba has much more resources than these small little islands, yet these countries and islands pursuing a very capitalist, basically tax haven type of economic policy, have standards of living that even in some cases, like Bermuda, exceed that of the United States. And then, the human rights record, I'm no big fan of Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch, but for once I agree with them. They've come down harshly on Castro as well for outright murder and political imprisonment. So, and last I checked, the only party that can run in Cuba is the Communist Party. So I don't know where my colleague, I forget his name, Jason, got his indoctrination, but I don't know. I can't respond to delusion. I really can't. But, that's what I'm offering your listening audience is go look it up yourself. I mean, we got the internet now. You can go ahead and
absolutely
you don't have to take my word for it. But instead of, it's the third party, evil, imperial confiscation, the theory and this and that, social democracy. I don't know. Do you guys have time for this academia and pablum or what?
Well, I found it interesting. Jason is an anti-capitalist, and you're Captain Capitalism, and I expected this kind of clash to occur. but Jason is a well-read person, and when he says when he gives his points, I actually think they're legitimate. I will have to do research myself, and I'm sure the audience will as well. But let me move on. Let me ask you this, Aaron.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, sure.
Just two quick things. One, just dismiss imperialism, just pretend it doesn't have any effect or that it doesn't exist. Two, just pretend the embargo doesn't exist. Essentially, that's the position. And then say, oh, you're just blaming everything on it. Essentially, that's it. So you're saying that literally Cuba is not better than it was before the revolution. I mean, there's all kinds of ifs, ands, or buts if the embargo never existed. But to just basically pretend that it didn't do anything, or just to pretend that imperialism doesn't exist, is frankly dishonest.
Duly noted. Now, Aaron, a question for you. There's a saying that capitalism is unequal joy and socialism is equal misery. You find any truth with that proverb?
Yeah, in terms of economics and also in terms of society or socializing sociology. Yeah, because to really simplify, and this may not even be Jason's position, but to simplify and generalize my observation of communists is it's rank envy and greed. They don't like people having more than them, and instead of being happy with what they got or maybe having the opportunity to work hard to get something more in life, they just find it much easier to say, well, I'm going to demand other people's stuff. And so they're envious of wealth and riches and things like that. But then you also see it, especially in things like the fat acceptance movement, big is beautiful, all these things that have nothing to do with, say, financial capital, but they want to redistribute social capital. So beauty, look, talent. The arts is a perfect example where you go to any modern day museum, the art being thrown up is garbage. It's talentless. It leftist hack work, and they always have to have a political message behind it. That's not coincidence. That's untalented people who want to have and bask in the glory and the glow of the art world and being famous, but lacking any talent. They got to put some kind of left-wing crusaderist social justice warrior cause behind it. I think so. Jason, you see this happening in different places, but yeah. To answer it, yes, it is the equal spreading of misery.
What do you think, Jason?
So I would say what he's spouting is borderline conspiracy theory as it relates to the arts. Arts is entirely subjective, and I personally don't really care much for art. Period. Does a lot of art have a political orientation? Of course it does. It's art. Everything produced under every system has that kind of orientation. You'd get it under capitalism too. And frankly, I couldn't care less about the fat acceptance movement. That is an entirely liberal thing, and I find that incredibly reactionary. And for this idea that they're just jealous of what other people have, it's like a ridiculous accusation. Like Marx didn't write volumes on political econ to say, oh, they're just jealous of what other people have. I mean, that's pablum. It's not even answering the argument that Marx even makes. What he describes is a system, its function, and how it creates misery. But why answer that when he could just say, oh, people are jealous? I mean,
because it is that simple.
No, it isn't that simple.
Marx was horrendously jealous.
Marx was jealous? I'd love to hear
of Engels and his dad. And he was lazy. He didn't want to work. I mean, you do know the history of Marx. What? Based on, I don't know, read his history. Read Das Kapital. Read the Communist Manifesto.
You think I haven't read those?
I guess you have. Yeah, never mind. All right, yeah. You're right.
In fact, Das Kapital is an econ book. Like, where's this thing, oh, you're just jealous? I mean, this is just a baseless accusation. And even then, you could make all the personal attack on Marx you want. It's a genetic fallacy.
Now, Jason, why are you a fan of North Korea?
I have my criticisms of them. My position is that they have a right to determine their own path to development. They have a right to run their society as they choose, free from oppression from the United States.
Okay, all right. So that's your bottom line: free from oppression from the United States. So what's happening in Venezuela? Go back to the Americas. What's happening in Venezuela? You don't see any similarity with North Korea and the two?
There's somewhat of a similarity, as in they're both being oppressed by imperialism in general, but they both take different manifestations. Venezuela is largely is an energy-based economy, and when you do that, you have to export. And if you have an export-based economy, you have a tendency to be reliant upon the people who purchase your products. Latin America is largely designed to be dependent on the United States, and it's been like that for several decades. My criticism is that Venezuela is not doing what's necessary to get themselves out from under that situation. For example, they make the mistake of not producing much of their own oil technology for the oil industry. They are reliant on imports from other countries for that, and they should immediately stop it. They should begin domestic production of as much as possible to reduce their reliance upon foreign countries.
Now, Jason, I'm sorry, Aaron, I'll let you have the last word.
I would like to know if Jason has a country that's ever existed that is a functioning, idealistic achievement of communism. Has it ever existed in history, or does it exist today, and which one is it, or them?
The stage of communism has not yet been reached.
So you're saying true communism has never been tried?
It's not that it hasn't been tried, it hasn't been reached. It's not something that can just be declared, it has to be built.
Okay, so then we're going to risk 7 billion people's lives on this planet on a theory that you have no working model on. Is that correct?
We have a structure on how to build it. And
you have a theory. You have blueprints, I understand it, but you have no country that this has actually worked. And you're willing to gamble. And given the track record where it's been tried, a lot of people tend to die during peacetime because you can't make the food, dude. So why should we listen to you?
Okay. Hidden assumptions. Ton of hidden assumptions. One, implying the world isn't under threat right now from capitalism. I'm not going to claim to know what you think, but I would guess that you're probably going to deny the existence of global warming, correct?
It has nothing to do. I want to know. Stop deviating.
I'm not.
Why should we?
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt by not claiming to know your position on something.
That's another show about global warming,
okay,
Jason.
No.
Yeah, I want him to make his point.
I will answer that. These famines are largely not man-made. Famines happen all the time. And when they happen in capitalism, in capitalist countries, they don't just run around blaming capitalism for it. For example, famines happened in China all the time. They reoccurred constantly. One happened under socialism and then never again.
Yeah, but that one killed like 50 million people.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close.
Well,
okay.
Well, listen, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for the spirited debate. You both are lifetime members of the show. You can, whenever you guys want to come back on and talk more, if you want to talk global warming, let's do it. That's another topic that I love to get Jason's opinion on and Aaron's opinion. So, again, I want to thank you guys. Is there anything you want to plug, Jason?
No, just my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user Mouse Trouble News 2 or mousetroublenews.com. That's it.
And the website?
Yeah.
It's mouserebelnews.com. mouserebelnews.com. Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. Aaron?
Go to my consulting site. If you got questions, it's assholeconsulting.com. Yes, it's a real company. And then I got my books, as Talib mentioned, Bachelor Pad Economics, Curse of the High IQ, Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty, Enjoy the Decline, and my latest one, Reconnaissance Man. So, and if you want to read my blog, I'm at captaincapitalism.blogspot.com. And my podcast, the Clarity Podcast, you can just search that on the internet. You'll find it.
All right, guys. And Jason, I'm assuming you're broadcasting from some communist country right now. Am I close?
No, I'm broadcasting from my home in Canada.
Oh, in Canada. All righty then. I want to talk to you more about that on another show because I have some interesting questions about your position and Canada. So again, fellas, thank you for the spirited debate and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, Talib.
Thank you.
You got it. You got it.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.